I'm Nikki. I grew up with a mom, a dad, a younger brother, typical, household. And after, learning what a relationship should be between my mom and I realized how toxic it was. My brother came along and she favored him more than anything in the world. And anything that I did wrong, I got the living crap beat out of me. Kid you not, broken bones, I had bruises, and doctors were concerned, but it was always, oh, she fell, or she walked into a wall or something. And I remember the first time my mom laid her hands on me, and it was because I didn't verbally say goodbye to my friend. I had waved, and my mom dragged me across the floor by my hair and literally kicked and punched and all of that. And it was painful. It was scary, and she told me if I told anyone at school or teachers or any of my friends, I'd get taken away and I wouldn't have a family anymore. And it was your typical narcissistic and just manipulative attitude. And so I was a junior in high school when I finally told my dad. And at that point, my brother started to have a really toxic relationship with my mom as well. He had started to witness everything. And she's very emotionally abusive towards him, and so just watching him lock himself in his room and hyperventilate for hours was a huge part of that. But there are days where my parents would scream and fight, and my mom would come up to me and ask me if I'd want her to leave, and I'd say yes. Like, I was so tired of the violence and the anger, and not being able to tell anyone. And when I finally told my dad, and my dad was like, you lay another hand on her, or on me, or my brother, you're out. And it was one of those things where at that point my dad had become my best friend. Like, that was really the pivotal point where it was like, he's all I really had. And as I went off to college and did all of those things, I realized the control that my dad had on my life as well. My dad started to become very emotionally abusive and very controlling, and I didn't associate that with abuse, because when I thought abuse, I thought just physical violence. And it's not that. It was, what time are you going to be home? What time, or who are you hanging out with? Why are you hanging out with this person this late at night? And there were just always rules. And it got to the point in college where he had discontinued my cell phone coverage. And so I went and I got my own phone line, and I was like, you're not going to pay for it? Fine, I will. And ended up working quite a bit. Ended up with 4 majors, and I would pour myself into school and work rather than into family, and just, a lot of that, being a Christian, being, not what my family wanted to be, caused a lot of damage. And even to this day, my dad's like, hey, go hang out with your Christian friends, go do this. And we have such a toxic relationship because that abuse never ended, because you call them out on it and it never stops. And so it's been about 5 or 6 years since I've talked to my mom. My dad and I talk more often than not, just to kind of figure some stuff out here and there, but we don't talk about personal things, we don't talk about anything else, and if we do, it's usually about my brother and how he's doing. But a lot of it was, you're a failure if I got a bad grade, or, if I didn't make the soccer team, you're not a good athlete. But just being a competitor, my dad did threaten to kill me about 6 months ago, because he referred to it as stripping on stage. He called it, ungraceful, and he's like, you do it again, I'm done. He's like, you're done. And it got to the point where the police got involved, and a lot of emotional turmoil came about on top of everything else. And so talking to my trainer, talking to my coaches, they're like, you've got to cut that toxicity out of your life. You've got to walk away from it. And even pastors at churches, they're like, we'll help you if you need help. You have a job, but we get it. Like, there are some things that you will always need help with. So just walking through that and just being a part of that and realizing how strong of a hold my dad still has on my life, even though I cut my mom out. And I talked to my brother, and my brother's like, Dad's right, Dad's always going to be right. And I'm like, you're going to have to start seeing it for yourself, because he's got a stronghold and a foothold in your life, and if you don't start seeing it, you're not going to escape it, and you're going to be drowned by it. And so just really talking to my brother about that, and just focusing in on sending him good vibes, sending him prayers, and just being like, hey, you've got to learn how to make your own decisions, because college is going to be a very, very huge wake-up call. And so, the days that my dad gets mad at me, or for whatever reason, just the things that come out of his mouth, it's always interesting, because when I dig into the word, it's like, I'm not not just my dad's daughter, I'm my father's daughter, and I think it ties in beautifully. But, you know, knowing that I am beautiful and this is me and I am who I am, and throughout all of this, so.